One of Ghana's most treasured pieces of nature lies in Adan. Songhor, the country's second biggest lagoon. Its mangroves is an eerie place, home to some of the most prized species found only in a place as serene as this. This is the richest salt mine in West Africa, home to more than half of all of Ghana's salt deposits. The salt here has been mined communally by villagers who live around it for centuries.
Songhor, Emilwana Skange, Wagawabimus University Langaya. Songhor, Emilwana Skange, Wakahenda Ygaposi. Songhor, Emilwana Skange, Wagasuma. Songhor, Emilwana Skange, Wagamachu. Songhor, Emilwana Skange, Wagay Motokia. Songhor, Abitadas, Songhor, Milli, Naskaga, Loli, Linga Limono.
Now, the government of Ghana has handed it all to one company, Electrochem, owned by Daniel Macaulay, also known as MacDan, for commercial salt mining.
Money is coming, and we are happy.
But the process of handing out this lagoon to Electrochem has set a division between the people of Adan, with people who support it.
The coming of Electrochem will do us more good than what some of our people are suspecting or even thinking.
And those who say this will take away livelihoods and make them even poorer.
It will be a great fight among we, the Adans and the government.
This place is rich. The value of Songhor's salt runs into millions of dollars, but the people who live around it are some of the country's poorest. In this film for Joy News, I will be tracking the Songhor Lagoon's long history, the wealth it holds, and why the takeover by Electrochem is creating so much tension here between the people of Adan, government, and the investor. You see, to understand the Adan Songhor story better, you need to go back in time to May 1985.
A trigger had been pulled and a live bullet had been shot. The original target was missed, but the bullet found other victims. It tore through the arm of a lady, Amakwa Enim, then grazed the stomach of Christian Abio, a pregnant woman. There was a loud scream. Ow! Afiami too! The bullet finally penetrated the chest of another young pregnant woman. She fell dead, with blood gushing from her body. Her name was Margaret Kuonu, known to her people as Maggie. The entire village was thrown into confusion and panic. There was wailing as our people swore to their ancestors. There was running in all directions for safety, but nowhere was safe.
This is a reenactment from Who Killed Maggie, a book written by salt miners in Adan to recount one of the deadliest days in the history of this area.
These communal clashes between the police and the people had ended up in the shooting and killing of an unarmed pregnant woman, Margaret Kuonu, and her unborn baby. This followed years of tension and attacks between Vacuum Salt, a company that had been handed the Songhor Lagoon for commercial salt mining under circumstances that residents here described as shady without their consent.
Ago. My name is Numo Amante Apedo Ayono. Libiwono, stroke salt priest of Adan traditional area. My role is to look after the Songhor.
The Songhor is a sacred place tied to the history of the Ada people. The 4 tribal clans that first settled here discovered it and are supposed to own it together. They have mined its salt for centuries using bare hands and basic traditional technology. This lagoon is a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, which amongst other things calls for an integrated approach to biodiversity, cultural diversity, sustainable development, and participatory inclusion of communities whose lives depend on it. With over 40,000 acres of the land area here now a concession of Electrochem, the people here no longer have the free access they've always had to mine salt. This man is their spiritual leader. When the decision was being taken to give out the Songhor, he claims he wasn't told. And like him, many of the people here that I've spoken with say they have very little or no knowledge about the processes that has led everyone to this point. There are more than 40 villages around this lagoon. All of them with a population of over 70,000 are largely salt miners.
The property is known for those who signed the agreement. Yes, and secondly, nobody will overpass me and go and do something about the Songhor Lagoon without my knowledge.
Daniel Macaulay is a man of many parts and one of Ghana's richest men, a consummate businessman with interest from shipping to aviation. Despite claims by traditional leaders like the Libiwono, he told us he had met all the people concerned with this lagoon.
We have 4 Opoclan in Adam. I visited Dangbebiawe first. I went to Lomobiawe. I met the Wecho, the head, and the Asafuacheme. I met them one. I finished with the 4 of them. And the Paramountcy was the last place I went. So I went to the Paramountcy. When I meet you, I said, look, I want to develop the Songhor salt. Will you allow me? Surprisingly, all of them said yes. None of them said no. Because it has been an impossibility in Ada. Anybody who comes here run away. Since 1970. Anybody that step here run away. So I asked the 4 Opoclan that if you want me to develop the Songhor, the 4 Opoclan plus the Paramountcy, you have to sit and sign one paper for me. It was the Queen Mother who led that. So that was a difficult part of the whole thing. It was very difficult for the 4. They have never sat before in a round table like this in Ada, the 4 Opoclan. But because of me, they sat.
The Electrochem leases, the business plan, everything that I read, and I spent a lot of time looking at the material. It's extremely inequitable. The qualifications of the company are questionable. And the role of the local chiefs is also an issue where so-called leadership and participation really is of a questionable character.
Dr. Yao Graham has been associated with the Songhor for more than 3 decades. In the mid-80s, he was part of a government committee which dealt with the conflicts around the running of the salt mines. Today, he leads the Third World Network, a think tank that advocates for responsible mining that benefits host communities.
It is quite unprecedented that the Songhor Lagoon, the Songhor Basin with this mineral producing potential, because this is the single biggest site for salt production in the whole of West Africa, never mind Ghana, to give a monopoly of the whole basin to one company is quite extraordinary. Secondly, to give it to a company with no proven history of salt mining is even more worrying. Then thirdly, to give it to a company on terms which are completely insensitive to the history of previous efforts to find a policy framework which was equitable and allowed the local people a role in the mining of salt, because salt has been part of the livelihood strategies of the Adan people for generations. Then, of course, there are questions about the process by which this decision was taken. So, from any number of angles, there are questions. And of course, it will be justified by, and it is being justified by officials as in the national development interest. But we can ask questions whether a lagoon where even when companies with experience were active, it was being used by several companies. It is possible for a company with no experience to take over the whole lagoon.
This is the Kase market. It's the economic powerhouse in the Adan area. Nearly all the salt mined in the Songhor is sold from this market. Salt traders from all over Ghana buy from this market. The women who have built their businesses around the salt trade have concerns over the takeover.
Government no lo lejo me ba je wa ikoro ba bosala wa fi agogo se kala ko mi akran we la ka ma wo pa ba den.
Change, though, is the constant thing in life. Change is very difficult, and some people find it very difficult to accept change.
Ernest Kublenu leads a group of young people from Adan fronting for the project to come on. They've recently been on demonstrations to drive their message home.
Some of us really believe that the coming of Electrochem would do us more good than what some of our people are suspecting or even thinking. For the past 30-35 years, this Songhor has seen a lot of interim management committees from government. And you want to ask yourself, what has that brought to the good people of Adan? Nothing. And Songhor is dying. And some life needs to be brought back to Songhor. There are vibrant youth in Adan who can work currently at this Galamsey sites, dying by the day just because they want to feed themselves and their families. Now, should this work stand, we are told they are going to employ between 2,000 and 5,000 youths in the first phase. Because what we know is that the second phase is going to have the chlor-alkaline company. So it means it is not just about the salt. The salt is going to birth other industries. And when you put all that together, employment alone is one. We have other corporate social these responsibilities that we are going to enjoy. And talking about some, when you read the chiefs, what they agreed on with the investor, we have people who today go to schools and end at primary schools. Some end at JHS, some end at SHS because they don't have that support.
There are many things about this takeover that reminds the people here of the violence of previous takeovers. In many parts around the Songhor, there's fear and anxiety. In February 2021, barely a month after Electrochem had started work here, there was gunshot exchanges between three communities that had strongly resisted development of the concession and workers of the company. Uniformed and plain-shirted men were with the workers of Electrochem on their way to the company's site when a gun battle broke out. 19 people were shot, including Bertha Agbluvi, who is only 14 years old.
Ami waka wa yoka gbogbo ke kole ni woye inu ina ni nge madagbe kofo. Ko ni we nu ina kan ni komi wo police uniform na ni komi wo tade la ke no katangbe se ba pe aispe. Se li nene ni nge ina kan ni nge fumalingi wange bi ke mini balu kele wa mami jekbole ke wa ko yakbonu se wa hinwio. Kekele hu abagbe nge yehi. Rapiamna ketu ko ene chese no kukeba linge ludu ofia ko mlene mabana mi ko ji bulleto ba mu ejem wa wele yininge mosu.
Community members have accused Electrochem of influencing the police and using thugs against them. I have come to the police commander to find some answers.
And you are saying that the Electrochem side did not have any guns with them.
Yes.
And yet people sustained gunshot wounds. So who would have fired these shots?
That is where the complainants or the victims should be able to assist us.
Did the police contingent among that team see anything? Because they were there.
What they saw was the people coming out from the bushes to come and attack the workers. And that is why they also pounced on them and got the 10 people arrested.
The police pounced on the people who...
Yes, and got them arrested because it was together with some motorbikes. It was something they were doing. So our intelligence was that we had was that the people go to hide in the bushes when they see the workers coming. It is so fortunate that they were with police. Other than that, the same previous incident that happened would have repeated itself.
So since they then arrested the people who were intended to attack the Electrochem staff, they would have known or seen, or at least have an idea, who would have fired the gunshots.
How would they know?
This is the Ada Traditional Council. It was here that the agreement was made over the future of the lagoon by chiefs representing the divisions under this traditional area. I've come here to get some answers.
Because of this Magdan's work, they came and attacked me in my house. More than 100 people that they are coming to kill me.
Nene Kole the Fourth is one of them.
We went to the government and asked, begging the government, because we know that the Songhor lagoon is spoiling. About say 2 or 3 years coming, the salt will not be coming out of the lagoon again. For me, I'm standing here and say that the work should come today, tomorrow, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. The work is coming to stay.
Even if some people disagree with
the work because it's for the government. Government gives the work to Magdan. I didn't give the work to Magdan, so I'm not afraid of it. If they come and cut my head, I know that whatever it will come, the work is going on. It will go on. It is going on.
Those who have looted the lagoon and ran away and are hiding in Accra, they are the people causing this mess now. The government even is not thinking of us here. The government is not thinking of us now to implement the master plan. So if any investor that comes who will create job for our children is the one we support.
There's been many other takeovers, many promises of jobs, of development in Ada with past takeovers. What is the guarantee this one will be different?
The guarantee is there for us because he's one of our own, and we spoke to him. We discussed a lot of issues with him before this project take off. So we know that he will do it because he has started community plans. He wants to develop an area for the indigenous around the Songhor Lagoon for them to benefit from the salt that Achiakpo, the one they do it themselves. He wants to construct the community plans for them to benefit, because if he starts his project, he won't allow you to enter the main lagoon again.
Every community here, there has been a community engagement with the people and their chief sitting there. Not a single village we haven't gone like 2-3 times. So the community, I can tell you on authority now that if you move in there and you talk to the people on the street, 98% support this project.
The entire web of people around the Songhor is messy. There's deep mistrust between chiefs in this area. Many of the communities here have been held back by years of chieftaincy conflict that have disrupted the traditional form of community ownership and running of the lagoon that existed many years in the past. The situation has given room for the springing of mafia groups and shady businessmen and women who are exploiting the lagoon to their advantage, to the anger of many people here.
Over the last few years, there's a new form of galamsey in the Songhor lagoon, known as the Achiankpo issue. Even the Achiankpo, we have two types. We have some Achiankpos that are in the heart of the Songhor, and that is causing a lot of distraction to the Songhor lagoon, because something that used to be there for everybody, then a few group of people decide to enter and partition it among themselves. So you don't have that right to go in any longer, because anywhere you step belongs to somebody. So what you are supposed to go and mine, which is yours, that you can sell and make life out of it, you are not coming to mine for your fellow Adaman, who decide how much he will pay you.
JoyNews has seen records to show that even the Libiwono, who is supposed to be the spiritual owner of the lagoon, a highly respected figure who must stay above reproach, has leased parts of this lagoon out to salt miners. This messy situation has created room for controversial takeovers like what is happening with Electrochem now, even if, as it appears now, many of the people here were against it because it wasn't in their interest.
We would not agree, and it cannot be possible. Go to Nijugo Benin and pay a metal 500,000. So you go to my jungle within 3 days. I crop here 500, 400, 300 per week or 2 weeks time.
In response to some of the concerns raised by community members, David Cameron, General Manager for Electrochem, told us they are already building community plans to allow those whose lands will be taken for this project to continue mining, so they, Electrochem, would now buy from them.
There's two solutions. One is to follow the DESPA process, which means they join us and they become our miners. So they go from being, if you like, self-employed, which they're not really, because cartels and other groups control them as well. So it's not as simple as that. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that we're building community pans. We've already built community pans for the Abakpi people, which is at the very west-hand end of the concession. And the idea is that we'll provide them with brine, top quality brine. They'll do the mining and we'll buy the salt back from them, so they can carry on doing what they're doing.
The factory claims to be producing more than 3 times what the old managers were producing, and now employs about 1,000 people, more than 3 times the number of people who used to work here previously. At its peak capacity, the company says it would employ 5,000 people at least. But many of the people around the Songhor say the artisanal mining already engages over 20,000 people.
Ninde wabanaka Achiankpo ewawo rubber ne wangme ewawo e kan 4 days bia o majengu 4 days bia o majengu.
This sack here, as at now, is 50 Ghana. As at now, we sell it 50 Ghana. People come from Kasua, Kufoidra, Kumasi, I mean all over. People come from Niger. I have customers at Niger, Wa, Tamale. They all come down here to come and buy salt.
What Electrochem is doing here isn't new. Many attempts have been made in the past to create a working commercial salt production factory here. In 1989, 4 years after the violence that took Maggie's life, the PNDC government then, with help from the Cuban government, put together a comprehensive plan that was meant to end the years of conflict over the Songhor. The plan, which was never implemented, balanced sustainability, large-scale, small-scale, and artisanal salt mining interests. In that plan, there was a place for everyone.
There's a model of mineral exploitation from colonial times, which our governments are attached to. So when people say it's in the national interest to produce more salt, it is true. Actually, all of us want the Songhor salt potential to be optimized. Produce how many tons? As many tons as is possible to produce. But how do we produce it? How is it done in a way which ensures that the history of conflict, which has marred mineral production generally around the country, and particularly in Songhor, is avoided? It's important. And also, how do we take this notion of the minerals belonging to the people seriously and how we think about its exploitation?
This lagoon for the people of Ada is life. And with the tension here now, everyone is on the edge. The people of Ada are at the crossroads now. They are haunted by a bloody past, and because of that, what should otherwise be a transforming investment is being looked at with a lot of suspicion. The poverty and deprivation here continues to worsen. The roads are terrible. There are communities with no water, no schools, or even toilet facilities, while they sit by this multi-million-dollar resource. But people also say everything that has happened here is a result of government's negligence, corruption in the past, and the way it has shed its duties. Electrochem now has the concession despite all the protests. But the company has to work harder to win hearts and minds, and to ensure that the host communities around the Songhor can still have a stake in the exploitation of the resource. This way, the chiefs and people and the government and Electrochem would all work together to achieve the peaceful and sustainable management of the salt deposits of Ada.